I sat alone at the dimly lit cafe, the warm glow of the soft lights contrasting with the cold weight pressing down on my chest. The hum of conversations buzzed around me, but it all felt distant, like the world was moving forward while I was stuck in some surreal limbo. My fingers tapped anxiously against the worn wooden table as I scanned the room, my thoughts a jumbled mess of uncertainty and betrayal. Then I heard it, a low, hushed voice. Familiar but not comforting, Ryan and Maya. Their laughter was soft, almost flirtatious, weaving through the background noise with a fluid ease that cut through the fog in my mind. I tried to focus on the newspaper in front of me, anything to distract from the intimacy I was unwittingly eavesdropping on, but I couldn't block it out. Remember that night at the beach? Ah, you looked beautiful. Her voice, tender and warm, sent a shiver down my spine. Beautiful? That word didn't belong in the same conversation as them. I froze, a chill running through my entire body. My breath caught in my throat, and my mind raced to make sense of it all. No, you're the one who always makes me feel seen, Ryan replied softly. They weren't just friends. They weren't laughing like old companions or reminiscing about shared experiences. They were something more, something deeper. I wanted to close my ears, to block them out, but I couldn't. The weight of their words crushed down on me. Every syllable felt like a dagger, slicing through the trust that once tethered us together. My stomach churned, and I fought to steady my breath. But the room was closing in on me. I glanced around the cafe, searching for answers in the flickering shadows. My hands trembled slightly, and I balled them into fists beneath the table. They didn't see me. They were lost in their own world, a world I no longer belonged to. Memories surged unbidden, late-night talks, stolen moments, laughter that used to feel genuine. Every shared secret, every quiet smile, it all felt hollow now, a twisted, tainted echo of what I once believed. No more secrets, Ryan, Maya whispered, her voice filled with emotion. No more secrets. That stung more than anything else. How had I not seen this? How could I have been so blind? I struggled to breathe, to think clearly. My head spun as the realization settled in. This betrayal ran deeper than I could have imagined. They had built something behind my back, something I wasn't a part of. The world blurred before me, and I fought to stay grounded in that dimly lit cafe, but the truth was unbearable. Tears threatened to spill, but I pushed them back, unwilling to show my weakness here, in public. This was their moment. Two people who had found solace in each other while excluding me. A haunting silence settled over me as they continued their conversation, oblivious to my presence. I watched them, hand in hand, lost in their own world, and then they left, completely unaware of the silent witness to their betrayal. My breath hitched, the weight of it all crashing down on me. I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't escape the reality that had shattered my world. I sat alone in the dim light of my bedroom, the silence wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. My thoughts were a storm, relentless and unforgiving. Betrayal was a weight I couldn't shake off. Each memory, a relentless loop, replaying itself over and over again. Every laugh we shared, every whispered promise, every touch, it all felt tainted now. Trust was something fragile, something I once believed could withstand anything. But now it was shattered into pieces, and I couldn't piece it back together. The anger surged within me, hot and fierce, but alongside it was an unbearable heartbreak, a hollow emptiness that clawed at my chest. My hands trembled. My mind wavered between numbness and fiery resentment. I couldn't escape the pain. It followed me, an unwelcome shadow that twisted every thought and feeling into something darker. Flashbacks began to flood my mind. Nights spent with Ryan and Maya, where we laughed until our sides hurt, shared secrets beneath a sky full of stars, and moments of quiet understanding that once made me feel safe. Those memories had been a foundation of my happiness, a sanctuary of connection I believed was real. But now, each moment I revisited felt hollow, distorted by deception. Every smile was false, every touch meant something different than I had thought. I closed my eyes, trying to hold on to a version of them that didn't exist anymore. The warmth of those memories was replaced by sharp edges, fragments of truth I couldn't ignore. My breath hitched as I saw their faces clearly in my mind, seen in a new light. Their laughter, the way they leaned into each other, the subtle gestures that once felt like affection. It was all a lie. I replayed conversations wondering how I hadn't seen it sooner. The way Maya would brush off things, the way Ryan would avoid certain topics, like they were constructing this world where I was just a side player. It sickened me. My chest tightened at the thought, and my throat went dry, as if I were suffocating. The ache wasn't just physical, it was in every cell of my being. How could I have been so blind? How did I let myself fall for that false reality? The betrayal cut deep, slicing through the parts of me I didn't even realize were vulnerable. There were moments when I could feel the numbness wrapping around me again, protecting me from the overwhelming hurt, but it never lasted long. Every flashback, every memory brought it all back tenfold. I found myself stuck in a loop, oscillating between anger and heartbreak, unable to break free. There was no easy escape, only the slow, torturous realization that my trust had been misled, manipulated into a story I could no longer believe in. The loneliness was suffocating. Even when surrounded by people, I felt isolated, detached from the world around me. Every smile I gave felt hollow, a facade to cover the truth burning within. The weight of it all threatened to bury me alive, and I wasn't sure if I had the strength to dig myself out. Then there were the moments when I wondered if I had ever truly known them at all, how much of our connection had been real, and how much of it was just a facade. It left me questioning my own sense of reality, my perception of the world I had built with them. And still, through it all, the anger simmered beneath the surface, an ever-present reminder of the betrayal that defined everything now. I sat alone at the edge of my bed, staring at the blank space in front of me. The weight of everything was suffocating. My thoughts churned relentlessly. Ryan and Maya, their betrayal, and the moral dilemma I faced. Should I confront them, or let it fester inside me until it consumes me? Every moment of silence was heavy, oppressive, and I could feel the tension stretching out endlessly, squeezing the air from my lungs. Avoiding mutual friends had become my only solace. The familiar faces, the shared memories, everything felt tainted now. A simple glance, a passing smile, each one felt like a lie. I wondered if they knew the weight of what they'd done to me, or if they were too wrapped up in their own bubble to even notice. Every interaction was strange, full of suspicion and discomfort. A question lingered in my mind, whether to force the truth out of them or simply walk away, leaving the pieces of my heart behind. But walking away seemed impossible. The thought of losing everything we had built together, of being left to grapple with the emptiness alone, was a wound too deep to ignore. It gnawed at me. This need to know, to confront the betrayal head on versus the fear of shattering everything in the process. My pulse quickened whenever I thought about it, and yet I couldn't find the strength to act. The weight of my choices felt unbearable. Every possible outcome felt like a loss. If I confronted them, I risked exposing the truth and watching the fragile bond we once had shatter completely. If I kept silent, I risked my own sanity slowly disintegrating, like sand slipping through my fingers. In the quiet moments, my parents' voices cut through my thoughts. Their concerned looks, their gentle yet probing questions. Are you okay? What's going on with you? Were like sharp knives digging into my soul. I wanted to tell them, to unburden myself of this heavy secret, but the words wouldn't come. How could I explain something so painful, something that felt so deeply personal, without shattering the fragile trust I still had in them? It's It's been a long time since I felt so deeply personal without shattering the fragile trust I still had in them. Their frustration grew the longer I stayed quiet. Ethan, You're withdrawing, my mother said one evening, her voice soft but insistent. You're not the same. We can't help you if you don't talk to us. I wanted to scream at them, to tell them that it wasn't just me, that the world had turned against me, but instead I nodded and forced a smile, a hollow echo of my former self. The weight of their disappointment was unbearable, and the guilt of keeping secrets from them twisted in my chest like a knife. At school, my teachers noticed it too, my absent gaze, my inability to concentrate. You've been struggling, Ethan, my counselor said gently during one of our sessions. You seem distant. Can you tell me what's been on your mind? But how do you explain betrayal in simple words? How do you unravel the intricate web of lies and pain that has become your reality? I sat in silence, unable to voice the overwhelming mess inside me. The pressure at home, the looming questions, and the secret I kept, each one chipped away at me. Piece by piece, I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, a version of myself stripped of confidence, constantly second-guessing my every move. And yet a small voice whispered inside me, urging me to hold on to my truth, no matter how painful it might be. Confronting the betrayal would be painful, but staying silent would bury me in an isolation far worse than I had ever imagined. The buzz of my phone pulled me from the stillness. Her name, Maya, flashed across the screen again and again. I stared at it, my breath caught in my throat. Each message was a tug at a thread in my tattered heart. Soft apologies, heartfelt pleas, desperate cries for forgiveness. Almost felt myself giving in. Almost. Maya, I finally typed back, my voice trembling as I hit send. I shouldn't have. I knew it. But I couldn't resist the pull. The way she reached out, her vulnerability palpable in every word, made something in me ache. I'm sorry, she said, almost immediately. I never wanted to hurt you. Please know that. I can't stop thinking about what we've lost. The words echoed in my mind, each one heavier than the last. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that the connection we shared could somehow mend the shattered pieces. But something in her tone, too rehearsed, too practiced, made my gut twist in suspicion. Yet even as doubts clawed at the edges of my mind, her message held power. It pulled me closer to the brink, blurring the line between forgiveness and exploitation. Was this about genuine regret or a desperate attempt to salvage what was lost? My heart ached with the knowledge that it was probably both. Her voice lingered, haunting in my thoughts. I miss you, she whispered in the next text. Every moment feels empty without you. The screen glowed in my hands, but her words did little to soothe the storm inside. I felt torn, pulled in two directions. My lingering love for her and the suffocating betrayal that twisted every memory into something painful and hollow. She clung onto my words, staring at me with a look that was half hopeful, half sad, and for a moment, I let myself indulge in the illusion that maybe, just maybe, we could move past this. But as quickly as that thought took root, reality reasserted itself. The truth was there, raw, undeniable. The damage was done, and no amount of words could undo it. But still, I couldn't erase the longing I felt in her messages. A part of me wanted to believe that love could overcome even the deepest scars, that time could heal wounds, if only given the chance. Yet another part recoiled, warning me of a trap, one I didn't want to fall into again. Hours passed as I stared out the window, letting my mind wander through the ruins of what we once had. Every moment replayed in vivid detail. Whispers under the stars, laughter that once filled the empty spaces. It was all so vivid, so real, and now tainted beyond recognition. I clutched my chest, the weight unbearable. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a dismantling of the very foundation of who I thought I was. Love was supposed to be something pure, something that built you up, not break you down. In moments of solitude, when the world fell silent around me, I found pieces of myself I didn't recognize. Doubt, anger, sorrow, it all threatened to consume me. Yet as the storm raged within, I realized something crucial. My strength didn't lie in holding on to what was lost. It was in learning to let go, to confront the pain instead of hiding from it. Character growth wasn't about moving past the betrayal. It was about redefining who I was in its aftermath. I was more than my vulnerability, more than the fragile threads of love that bound me to illusions. I began to see that self-worth wasn't found in another's approval, but in embracing the scars and finding power in my own resilience. Each day was a step forward, a painful, necessary one, toward healing and becoming someone whole again. Let's see if this metaphor works with me. The air was thick, suffocating. Every breath felt heavy, weighed down by the tension that hung between us. The room buzzed with muted conversations, laughter echoing softly in the background. Yet, all I could focus on were their faces. Ryan's defensive sneer, Maya's tear-streaked eyes. I took a step forward, my voice steady, but my hands were clenched into fists at my sides. "We need to talk," I said, my words cutting through the crowd like a blade. Ryan's brows furrowed as if he hadn't expected this, his jaw tightening as he crossed his arms. "There's nothing to talk about," he snapped. His voice was sharp, dismissive. It felt like he was trying to box me out, trying to maintain control. Maya's breath hitched and her sobs began before she could even form words. She buried her face in her hands, her body trembling. "Please, Ethan," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please just listen to me. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't." Her words hung in the air, heavy and desperate. I saw the anguish in her eyes, the genuine pain, but it was too late. I couldn't unsee the betrayal. "You're both liars," I said, my voice low but firm. "You've been lying to me this whole time." And so, Ryan's gaze flicked to Maya, his smug expression faltering for a brief second before hardening again. "You're twisting things," he said quickly. "You always do this. You make everything worse." "You should listen to her, Ethan," Maya whispered, her voice trembling. "It's not like that. You're misunderstanding everything." But Ryan interrupted her, cutting her off. "She warned me not to tell you. She begged me not to say a word." Maya froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. "That's not true," she shouted, her voice cracking in shock and fury. "That's a lie! I never said that!" The room seemed to tilt, my mind reeling from the revelation. The air crackled with tension, the silence thick as everyone waited for the truth to reveal itself. Both of them claimed something different. Ryan's accusation, Maya's denial, each word slicing deeper into my already fragile trust. The walls around me began to close in and I couldn't think straight. Their conflicting stories blurred together into a chaotic storm. I couldn't tell where the lies ended and the truth began. My voice trembled as I spoke. "How do I know who's telling the truth? You've both been deceiving me." Maya reached out, but I took a step back, her touch burning more than it ever could soothe. "You don't get to pretend you didn't know what you did," I snapped. "I saw it, felt it. Every moment we spent together was a lie." Ryan's face twisted into something unreadable, a shadow flickering across his features. "You were never meant to know," he said, his voice low. "She wanted to protect you, to spare you from the pain." "She didn't protect me," I countered, my voice rising, breaking with every syllable. "She kept secrets. You both did." Maya's sobs grew louder, her knees buckling as she sank to the floor. "I loved you," she cried, her voice raw and broken. "I still do. But I couldn't. I couldn't face the truth." My chest tightened, and for a fleeting moment I felt the pull of sympathy, of love. It was small, fragile, buried beneath the weight of betrayal. "You think I can just forget everything? That we can go back to what we had?" I shook my head. "You broke me." The room felt like it had shattered into pieces, every corner a reminder of the lies and the pain. I was engulfed in doubt, drowning in the confusion of their conflicting stories. Every glance between them, every whispered word, became a puzzle I couldn't solve. My mind raced with questions. Who was right? Who was wrong? Or were they both to blame? And yet the truth was slipping away. The decision lay heavy on my chest, a weight I couldn't escape. Expose their deceit, or let the betrayal fester, slowly eating away at my sanity. The thought of living in this uncertainty was unbearable. Every second spent in this room felt like I was losing pieces of myself. I needed to make a choice now, before the darkness consumed me completely. The cabin was nestled deep in the forest, the stillness almost deafening. The scent of pine and earth filled the air, grounding me in this moment of solitude. I sat by the window, the world outside a blur of green, while inside, the weight of my thoughts pressed down on me. Pages of a weathered journal lay open before me, and I poured my pain into them, each word an attempt to untangle the chaos in my mind. It wasn't easy to confront the memories. Betrayal had wrapped itself around me, suffocating every part of who I thought I was. But here, away from the noise, away from their eyes and accusations, I could breathe. With each entry, a new layer of understanding revealed itself. I spoke of anger, sadness, confusion, and slowly, forgiveness began to creep in. It wasn't an instant transformation, but a steady, quiet realization that I didn't have to carry their betrayal as if it were my own failure. I let the pen glide across the page, my thoughts spilling onto the paper. They couldn't define me anymore. Their actions, their lies, they were part of the past, no longer a weight I had to carry. But the past? The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Maya and Ryan stood before me, their faces etched with guilt and remorse. Maya's voice broke first, soft and trembling. "Ethan," she said, her eyes meeting mine, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I let my fear and selfishness get the best of me. I made a mistake, and I regret it every day." Her words hung in the air, a fragile truth wrapped in vulnerability. She spoke from the depths of her soul, each syllable raw and aching. Ryan shifted uncomfortably beside her, his hands clasped tightly together. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, his voice lower, strained. "It was never my intention. But I know how it looks, and nothing I say will take that away." I listened, absorbing their confessions, watching the struggle in their expressions, but something inside me didn't respond to their pleas the way I once might have. Their remorse felt genuine, but hollow. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about them trying to mend what they had broken. And I couldn't let that define my healing. "I hear you," I said quietly, interrupting their flow of apologies. "But your words don't fix what's been done." Maya's breath hitched, and she clutched her arms tightly against her chest. "No," she said. "I don't expect forgiveness, not now, not ever. I just needed you to hear me, to understand that I was wrong." Ryan, unable to meet my gaze, looked at the ground, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't want to hurt you, Ethan. I don't know how to make that clear enough." Their vulnerability was stark, painful to witness, but I couldn't let it consume me. I needed to move forward, to heal, not to dwell in the past with them. Their words faded into silence. Maya and Ryan stood before me, their defenses stripped away, leaving nothing but the echoes of their guilt. But I wasn't searching for their redemption. I searched for my own peace. I took a deep breath, steady and composed. "You've apologized. That's something. But I don't need your redemption." My voice was calm, firm, unwavering. "I need my own peace." Maya's eyes filled with fresh tears, and Ryan's expression twisted in discomfort. They exchanged glances, as if searching for the right words, but they had none that could repair the damage they had caused. "I'm done with this," I continued. Done with the games, the lies. The toxicity that once bound us together has no power over me anymore. Their remorse, though heartfelt, could not erase the years of betrayal and hurt. I had seen the truth, and that truth would set me free. With each word, I reclaimed my power. I wasn't a victim of their mistakes. I was the architect of my own healing. You can carry your guilt, I said softly, but I'm moving forward, alone. Maya broke down, tears falling freely now, and Ryan looked away, his fists clenched at his sides. Their attempts to make things right couldn't change the past. It was done. And I, for the first time in what felt like forever, felt a weight lifted off my chest. I sat on the worn wooden bench by the edge of the park, my mind drifting through memories. The breeze was gentle, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and the distant hum of city life. It was a small step forward, being here, among people I hadn't seen in what felt like forever. "Hey," a familiar voice broke through my thoughts. I looked up to see Rachel, her eyes soft with a warmth that reminded me of simpler times. "Hey," I said, forcing a smile. "It's been a while." "I have," she said, settling down beside me. But it feels good to catch up." Her presence was a comfort I hadn't realized I missed. Conversations that didn't revolve around doubts or manipulation. Laughter that wasn't clouded by suspicion. So we talked for hours, sharing stories and old memories. It wasn't as though I was trying to replace what had been lost. I was learning to embrace the present, piece by piece. The sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the lake. The water shimmered, mirroring the hues of the evening sky. I stood there, my reflection a distant echo of who I once was, but today I felt lighter, more whole. Every step I took towards healing was a battle fought and won. The betrayal still lingered, but it no longer defined me. I let go of the anger, the resentment. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The sound of footsteps approached from behind, quiet and deliberate. I didn't turn around immediately. Instead, I let the calm settle deeper into my being, embracing the peace that had become my anchor. "You look peaceful, Mia's." Maya's voice was gentle, almost hesitant. "I am," I said simply, my tone steady. Yeah, she paused, her breath catching in her throat. "I don't know if I'll ever make up for what I've done, but I want you to know how sorry I am. Truly." Her voice cracked, raw and vulnerable, and I could feel the weight of her sincerity. But I had learned that apologies alone weren't enough. Not when actions spoke louder than words. "Appreciate the apology," I said, turning to face her. "But peace isn't something you can give me. It's something I've built for myself." Her eyes softened, a flicker of understanding passing between us. There was no need for further explanations. The moment spoke louder than anything either of us could say. "I respect that," she finally said. With the sunset fading into twilight, I turned back to the lake, taking one final breath of the fresh air. The chapter was closing, and for the first time, I felt ready to step forward.